Whether you know him from Even Stevens, Transformers, or his numerous arrests, it's no secret that Shia LaBeouf has dealt with his fair share of tragedies over the years. Shia LaBeouf didn't have the easiest upbringing. Born in June 1986 to parents Shayna Seda and Jeffrey Craig LaBeouf, Shia has often talked about growing up poor. During his early childhood, his parents worked at carnivals and dressed up as clowns to make money. He was also put to work at a young age, as LaBeouf recalled to the Orange County Register. "I come from 5 generations of performers. I was acting when I came out of the womb." When he was 3 years old, he began joining Jeffrey and Shayna in their clownery, dressing up to help them sell hot dogs in Echo Park, Los Angeles to make ends meet. This didn't go on for long, though, as his parents fought a lot and divorced by the time he was 5 years old. The actor cited money as a major factor in his parents' separation, telling Parade, "Finance drove my family apart because they were co-owners in a fashion company that fell apart. And my mother blamed my dad for it, blamed him for wrecking it all. It may not be the sole reason for the split, but it is the superficial reason. It's the surface reason that you can point at and go, that's the reason." Following his parents' split, Shia LaBeouf resided in the Tahunga area of LA with his mom while maintaining a relationship with his dad. Jeffrey Craig LaBeouf, a Vietnam War veteran suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder who had gotten into dealing and abusing drugs, wasn't exactly the best father figure, though.
He was my dude. He was like a buddy.
Yeah. But not in a
not the best
not
buddy.
in a good way. Yeah.
He was like a buddy.
In 2007, Shia shared details of his childhood with the Orange County Register, which reported that he was abused by his father. He recalled a specific incident in which his dad threatened him with a gun in the midst of a PTSD flashback. Watching his father spiral wasn't easy for Shia. As he put it, "You become the parent in the relationship." Despite this, Shia began living with his dad in a motel a few years later because it was closer to the set of Even Stevens. Looking back on his relationship with his father during a conversation with Interview magazine, Shia determined, "The only thing my father gave me that was of any value to me is pain." He reasoned that their fractured relationship was the cause of a lot of his troubling behavior later in life. Prior to moving in with his dad, Shia LaBeouf lived with his mom, Shayna Seda LaBeouf, who worked hard to provide for him by selling fabric and jewelry. Tragically, when Shia was 9 years old, his mom was sexually assaulted in their apartment, and he overheard everything. Shia opened up about the aftermath of the horrific incident to Esquire, recalling, "I froze. The man ran out, and my mom ran after him. Dave, a neighbor, came running over. I remember he had a crossbow." Sadly, the rapist was never caught. Shia said that while in rehab in 2017, he was diagnosed with PTSD stemming from the incident, and he believes it was the reason for his first major arrest. He elaborated, "The first time I got arrested with a real charge, it stemmed from the same shit. Some guy bumped into my mother's car with his car in a parking lot, and my head went right to, 'You need to avenge your mother.' So I went after the dude with a knife." Although he didn't actually use the knife that day, LaBeouf has always felt protective of his mom. He's admitted that he struggled to come to terms with the fact that there was nothing he could have done to prevent her from being attacked when he was young. The actor remained close to his mom until she died in 2022. Performing came naturally to Shia LaBeouf, so once he graduated from dressing up like a clown, he found himself landing gigs in comedy clubs. Despite being a mere 10 years old, his dirty brand of comedy did so well that he was given the opportunity to perform skits on The Tonight Show. Around the same time, LaBeouf met a child actor who opened up his eyes to the possibility of making show business his full-time career. Not only was LaBeouf attracted to the idea of skipping normal classes, but he saw it as a lucrative opportunity to make money and fix his family. He explained to The Hollywood Reporter, "In a very simple way, to me, having money meant having a family. The more money I had, the more I could have my family around. That's just how I equated it." After he booked the role of Louis Stevens in Even Stevens, LaBeouf was able to shoulder more of the financial burden, and he thought his plan would really work. He continued, "They loved each other deeply, and all of their fighting came from money, and so I just thought, well, if we had money, there'd be no fighting and I'd have a family." Of course, there were other factors at play, and the two never got back together. After Even Stevens concluded in 2003, Shia LaBeouf turned his attention to the big screen, and by the mid to late 2000s, he was booked for back-to-back films. The success of Transformers firmly solidified LaBeouf's status as an A-lister, leading to LaBeouf taking on the role of Mutt Williams in 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He then filmed the action thriller Eagle Eye alongside Michelle Monaghan, Rosario Dawson, and Anthony Mackie before returning to play Sam Witwicky in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Just weeks into filming the Transformers sequel, though, LaBeouf was involved in a car accident in Hollywood and left seriously injured. The actor was making a left turn at a busy crossroad in LA and flipped his truck when he collided with another vehicle that ran a red light. His hand was crushed in the accident, and he was rushed to the hospital for surgery. LaBeouf wasn't blameless, though. He was arrested at the scene for driving under the influence and later charged with a misdemeanor.
I messed up. I'm sorry.
Filming was disrupted because of the accident, but LaBeouf returned to work quickly. However, he was still seriously injured and had to get through production with broken fingers. He told Access Hollywood, "We propped my hand together so I could get through Transformers, and then I'll go have another surgery and be back to 100%. LaBeouf was excited to follow up the success of American Honey with the comedy drama The Peanut Butter Falcon, which began filming in July 2017 in Georgia. The movie follows the unlikely bond between an aspiring wrestler with Down syndrome and his new friend and coach, played by Zach Gottsagen and LaBeouf respectively.
Rule number one is what?
Party.
Party.
Yeah.
Production was an emotional journey for LaBeouf, but he put it all at risk when he was arrested. Out alone in the middle of the night, the actor asked a stranger for a cigarette. The situation quickly escalated, culminating in LaBeouf's now famous racist rant directed toward a black police officer. LaBeouf was arrested for disorderly conduct and public intoxication before being bailed out the next morning. Recalling how he felt when he returned to set after the arrest during an interview with The Guardian, he said, "I can't look anyone in the eye, and I can't come to terms with it, and no one's talking to me, and I'm talking to no one, and I know my life has exploded again, and I am in deep shame." As a consequence of the arrest, LaBeouf was ordered to spend 10 weeks in rehab when filming ended. He also publicly apologized for his remarks, writing in a statement, "The severity of my behavior is not lost on me. I have been struggling with addiction publicly for far too long and am actively taking steps to secure my sobriety." 2017 wasn't the first time that LaBeouf ended up behind bars, as he had already seen the inside of a cell after his knife-wielding confrontation years earlier. He reflected on his 2 days in jail in his essay Error Breeds Sense from the book Prison Ramen, writing, "While I was there, I at least understood that being in jail is not the move, it sucks." While LaBeouf often refers to the incident as his first serious offense, it was certainly not the first time he had been picked up by the cops. LaBeouf was first arrested when he was just 9 years old for attempting to steal a pair of Nikes. 2 years later, he was arrested for trying to take a video game from Kmart. On both occasions, LaBeouf was detained for about 6 hours, but no charges were filed. However, LaBeouf spent another night in jail in 2007 after he was arrested for trespassing at a Walgreens store. He later told Esquire that he was struggling with his increasing fame after the release of Transformers, saying, "I was living in a gilded cage. No one gives a f*** about your problems. Everybody's like, hey man, you're riding the wave." Incidents like this continued as LaBeouf was later arrested for smoking illegally and drunk jaywalking.
You seem to have gone crazy since the last time I saw you. Is that
Does seem
true?
that way, doesn't it?
Shia LaBeouf started writing Honey Boy after he entered rehab following his 2017 arrest. He was also having therapy sessions for PTSD and was asked by his therapist to write down the most impactful moments of his life. Shortly after, he started turning his writing into a script and sent it to a filmmaker friend, Alma Harrell, who became the director of 2019's Honey Boy. The movie was heralded as a critical triumph, but it took years of work behind the scenes and was an emotional experience for LaBeouf. He visited his father, whom he'd not seen for 7 years, to get his permission for the movie. The actor revealed his dad's reaction to the film, named after Jeffrey's childhood nickname for Shia, telling The Hollywood Reporter, "He didn't believe that I could pull it off." Shia felt that as he played the role of his own father in the movie, he learned to empathize with him, implying that it led to something of a reconciliation. He continued, "He's calmed, and I've calmed." Shia later admitted that he had exaggerated many elements of the film, including the physical abuse the main character experienced at the hands of his father. Surprisingly, Jeffrey wasn't so bothered by the inaccurate portrayal, proclaiming to Jen, "I'm proud of my son. He's my honey boy." In 2020, singer Talia DeBrett Barnett better known by her stage name FKA Twigs, sued her ex-boyfriend Shia LaBeouf for sexual battery, assault, and emotional distress. The pair started dating after meeting on the set of Honey Boy. The lawsuit alleged, over a course of months, LaBeouf engaged in a continuous stream of verbal and mental abuse toward Talia, belittling her and berating her after the slightest perceived insult by LaBeouf. This apparently included violent outbursts, attempted strangulation, and knowingly giving her a sexually transmitted disease. LaBeouf initially denied the allegations but later admitted, "I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, only rationalizations. I have been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history and am sorry to those I hurt." LaBeouf later recalled that as 2 more women, including artist Sia, came forward with further allegations against him, his mental health deteriorated. While speaking on the podcast Real Ones with John Bernthal, LaBeouf admitted that he was close to taking his own life. He's since admitted that he's now glad the women came forward, and he claims to be making amends and taking accountability.
The reality is that she saved my life, dude.
Wow.
Shia LaBeouf had struggled with addiction for most of his life, getting his first taste for alcohol and drugs from his father when he was just 10 years old. His addiction has been the cornerstone of his destructive behavior, leading to many of his arrests over the years. LaBeouf first sought treatment for his addiction in 2014 after he was arrested at a Broadway show. Unfortunately, he was arrested for public intoxication again the following year and ordered to attend rehab again in 2017 following an arrest in Savannah. The Guardian reported that he'd remained sober for 2 years after that, but LaBeouf admitted that he had relapsed during his relationship with FKA Twigs. After she came forward with allegations against him, LaBeouf publicly claimed that he was working toward his sobriety and was continuing therapy for his PTSD. It was during this stint in rehab that he reunited with his now wife, Mia Goth, who was apparently the only person who supported him. The couple now have a daughter named Isabel, who was born at the beginning of 2022. Later that same year, LaBeouf wrote to director Olivia Wilde to make amends 2 years after she allegedly fired him from Don't Worry Darling. According to Variety, the actor stated, "I write to you now with 627 days of sobriety and a moral compass that never existed before my great humbling that was the last year and a quarter of my life." If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. Call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org.